Welcome back, eSIM Studios podcast, episode number 60. Yes, the big 60. My name is Taylor Bell, and we are basically, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but there were some stories that I did have to skip throughout the week just due to time constraints. But we'll use this time for a weekly wrap-up, I guess, right? There were a couple of actually really interesting stories that I want to get to here. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Everybody had a good week. It's hard to believe Saturday, the weekend's already here. This week went by so fast. Incredible. Everything's going good over here. Hope everything is the same on your end. Now there was some interesting news, right? We got into, was it this week? I think it was this week. Maybe it was last week. It was last week. But if you've seen the news, it made headlines for a little while and then kind of out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, which I think is a good thing. I think that's how Google wants that to be, or maybe not, because the federal government is suing Google basically for monopoly business practices, right? And then, well, let's see. Now that was 2 weeks ago. Last week we got word that the government is suing Apple for essentially the same thing, little different circumstances, but basically the same thing. Just be too big, right? Which is kind of ironic. We discussed that in detail last week, how the number one thing here in the United States is money, big business, and then, like very, very, very few companies get to the point where they get sued by the government for being too big. So that's kind of ironic in my eyes, that you want these businesses to thrive and do very well. The better these companies do, the better the economy does. It's not necessarily tied together, but with all these companies put together doing well, it does, right? It kind of does help the economy roll a little better. Now, it is obviously in the technology sector. You got a bunch of different sectors, right? You got the medical part, you have insurance, you have agriculture, stuff like that. But technology is what is running the world today. And this kind of flew under the radar. So the federal government, and I kind of see why, and we'll get to it. The federal government opened up its case against Facebook and or Meta. I guess technically it's Meta, because Meta's the parent company that owns Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. What else do they own? Anyways, we got word today that they're reopening their case. Well, not today, but a couple days ago, we got word that they are reopening their case. Now, it's not they didn't open their case this week. Basically, what happened was in 2020, when the federal government filed a suit against Meta. Now, it's in regards to two of their entities, WhatsApp and Instagram. What the federal government wants to happen is for Meta to sell they want the federal government, FTC, Federal Trade Commission, wants Meta to basically sell off Instagram and WhatsApp. I think Facebook's probably their biggest earner. I guess we could look it up, but I mean, that's I think it's probably Facebook, then Instagram, then WhatsApp. But here's the thing, WhatsApp is enormous. It's not widely used here in the United States. It is, but when you look at it on the scale of users using it in the United States, I'm talking about WhatsApp, and users that are around the world using WhatsApp, it's a considerable difference. WhatsApp is huge. If you travel, if you go outside the country, everybody uses WhatsApp. When I say every, and rarely do you hear me speak in absolutes, right? But this is as close as you can get. So now it's up to them to figure out how to turn a messaging app into a moneymaker, because typically you use it just to message, right? But that's besides the point. So let me pull up this article real quick. Let's see. In 2000, again, they reopened the case. Let's see. Now, Meta obviously wants the courts, Meta's lawyers wants the courts to dismiss this antitrust lawsuit. And it says ... again, because here's the deal. Back in 2020 is when the federal government originally opened their case against Meta. Now, the judge that was appointed to that case in 2020 essentially dismissed the case, meaning there simply was just not enough evidence to support the federal prosecutor's claims. They since then appealed, and now it's I guess going back to appeals courts, or they're gonna retry them again. Let me see. let's you know what, let me move this over here. Here we go. Okay. So the original lawsuit 2020, if that was successful, that would have forced Meta to sell Instagram and WhatsApp. Now, as we mentioned, those are two enormous entities that Meta owns, huge moneymakers, very popular. If Instagram's not the most popular social media app, I'm assuming Facebook is, but it's right up there, right? A lot of people use it. Let's see. Meta filed a motion just this last day or two for summary judgment. Yesterday, on Friday, seeking a dismissal of the retrial, claiming that the Federal Trade Commission does not have and has not provided enough evidence in these claims to force Meta to sell Instagram and WhatsApp. So basically what Meta is saying, look, in our original case in 2020, the judge threw it out because there simply just wasn't enough evidence to support your claims. And now the new evidence that you brought forward is simply not good enough. It's simply basically along the lines of what was dismissed 4 years ago. You see how long these things take? They take forever. This case against Google that's going on, I know it kind of just got started, but it's going to take forever. The suit that they filed against Apple, I'm sure will take forever. Now, I don't necessarily take sides. Now, when it comes to Android versus iPhone, yes, I take Android side, but typically in life, whatever it is, whatever topic it is, I always try to look at things fairly, honestly, and try to deliver what I'm doing on YouTube a straight shot, as honest as I can be, right? I think the case that the government has against Apple is frivolous. It's probably the worst or least impressive case against any of these three tech companies. The claims that the government brings forward in the Apple case is almost laughable. In fact, it is laughable. We kind of joked about it when I reported on it. It's just not. They better have something else in their pocket for trial, because what they brought forward against their case versus Apple is simply laughable. In fact, it's almost embarrassing that they would present a suit against Apple with the evidence that they had, which was essentially nothing. They were just claims that could easily be debunked. So I'm sure the Apple lawyers are cannot wait to get in court and tear the federal prosecutors up, because I think that can be easily dismissed. The case against Google is a little more interesting. It's a little more intricate, right? It involves a different set of claims. Now, Apple, Google, both tech companies, kind of, well, very different as far as how they do business. Google's a software business, and Apple is essentially a hardware business, although they do make iOS, obviously, but a large portion of they manufacture and sell their own hardware. Google typically in the past has outsourced all their hardware and focused on, obviously, search engines. That's what made it famous. What else? It's going to be interesting. I don't know which way the Google one is go. Look, if what the government wants Apple to do is basically force them to, so they're seeking in their case versus Meta to force Meta to sell Instagram and WhatsApp, as we noted a few times, right? In the Google case, the federal government wants Google to separate its search business, right? They want to sell off the search. They want Google to force Google to sell their search division and or break it up into a number of different entities, right? Now, with the federal government versus Apple, that's where it's pretty interesting. All of these are interesting, right? Because we've known Meta for well, I say so long. When did they buy Instagram? I think that was in let's see. I don't know when. Oh, 2000. Okay, here we go. So the FTC, who together, meaning the states together, claim that the purchase of Instagram in 2012 and WhatsApp in 2014 were anti-competitive. Now, here's the deal. Again, here's my issue with the federal government suing these tech companies, because a lot of their claims just simply don't make sense and or are not applicable to today's world. Now, what do I mean by that? Is when Meta, I'm not a big Meta fan, Facebook fan. They've screwed me over a few times. But I don't hold that against them. Again, I made that statement about looking at everything fair because that's what I try to do, right? But I will defend tech, right? The tech world. I'm a big nerd, so unless it's egregious and it's, I'm not gonna look like a fool and defend something that's defenseless, right? So back in 2012, here's my issue with the government. A lot of their claims simply don't translate to today's world, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe it's the opposite, right? Because, excuse me, remember 2012, right? So what phones were out? We're talking about 12 years ago. So the iPhone just rolled out. I think the iPhone, we were on what, iPhone 2, right? Because that rolled out in what, 2010, I believe? I think 2000. So no, maybe it was 2000. Hold up. So let's see. So what was the phones back in because then it gives us a little better idea of, at least it does for me, what time frame we're dealing with. Because I can always go back and be like, oh yeah, remember when I had that HTC One? Like, oh yeah, I remember that. Or that Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket from AT&T, the very first 4G LTE phone in the United States. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Let's see real quick. Let me do a Google search. Phones that launched in 2012. Okay, sounds a little off, right? But look. So we have the iPhone 4S. I'm not sure if many of the viewers are old enough to remember that. May have been a little kid, may not even been born. Shoot. Well, I hope I don't have any 12-year-olds watching me, but you know what I mean. So the iPhone 4S was out. There's my HTC One 1X. I remember that. So yes, I do remember, what kind of time frame we're talking about here, right? Galaxy Nexus. Ooh, that was a bad one right there. Bad isn't good. That was awesome. Yo, that's okay. Another topic for another show. I'm gonna write this down. What if Google? So back in the day, I'm not gonna get off topic. Back in the day, Google made like a Pixel version. It wasn't Pixel back then. They had Nexus, but they would make a Nexus version, a stock Android version of the latest Samsung Galaxy phone. So that you would have a Galaxy phone just like this one right here, but except for Samsung software, it would have Google or stock Android software. How badass would that be? Another show. We also had the HTC One. That was a very popular device. I think that was popular among women and girls. Motorola Droid Razr and the Samsung Focus S. So some of these I haven't heard probably in 10 years, right? But I say that and show you this because let's go back to that year, to 2012, when these devices were were the top dog, right? A long time ago. Now, the federal government is claiming, right? They're claiming this. They're claiming that the purchase of Instagram in 2012 and WhatsApp just a short period of time thereafter, the purchase of those two entities were anti-competitive. So they were claiming they were anti-competitive. The government was saying, Facebook back then, because they weren't Meta back then, it was still Facebook. So they're saying today that back in 2012, when y'all bought Instagram and WhatsApp, it is and that was an anti-competitive purchase. They would obviously, if they could turn back the hands of time, I'm sure they would not approve it. Well, again, here's my issue with the federal government when it comes to technology. We had no clue. We had no idea, not even a little teeny tiny piece of idea that Instagram would grow to be where it is today. We had no inclination. People didn't even know what WhatsApp was back then. A lot of people still don't because it's not popular here. Nobody knew or thought that would be popular back then, right? Again, we're talking 12 years ago. So how are these politicians, are these government officials time traveling? Are they jumping between wormholes and black holes, going from 2012 to 2024 to 2020 to 2014 back to today? That claim is baseless in my book. It is unfounded. You cannot stand on that claim, and it's almost it's puzzling to me that a federal prosecutor would make a claim like that when all of us know we had no idea it would be this big. Back then, tech companies were starting and they were falling apart. They were starting and falling apart. Hell, Facebook was not that big back then. It was, I get it, but not like it is today. Similar claims against Apple. Very laughable, head-scratching claims that you're like, what? You're gonna sue them and roll into court with this? That's what I'm saying. I bet the Meta lawyers cannot wait to get into the courtroom. Or shit, obviously they're trying to get it dismissed because it's laughable, right? Now I see why the judge threw out the very first case, because it's like, really? Nobody knew back then. Phones were still rinky-dink phones, right? Nobody knew social media would take off like it did. Now, let's see how many users, just to give us an idea, how many users were using Instagram by year, right? Because I want to see just how popular it was. All right, so I did a Instagram active users by year. Now, it's so long ago that in the tech world, 1 year is a long time, but 12 years ago, it's like going from the Stone Age in 2012 in the tech world to, Black Panther, Wakanda land. That's a huge leap in the tech world. But look at these numbers. So today they have 1.35 billion with a B active users on Instagram. Active users on Instagram. Now, back in 2012, look, it doesn't even go back that far. I still have to do some more searching. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, so 2000. Look at this. Look at this. 2012. Hold up. Is that Instagram quarter? Oh, that's quarterly revenue. I'm looking for active users. But look at this. Even you can even go off by this chart. Active users, quarterly revenue for Instagram, it stops at 2015. So it doesn't even go back to 2012. And the graph shows it basically goes to zero because it zeroes out and it doesn't even go back as far as 2012. It stops at 2015, quarter one. So basically end of 2014, which they purchased WhatsApp in 14 and Instagram in 2012. But look at this. So the government is saying, so if you're a lawyer, defense attorney for Meta, you're gonna ask the federal government. So when this app was basically non-existent, not bringing in any money, how did you know it was an anti-competitive move back then? Not now. Now, is it? Yeah, maybe it is, right? But back then, remember, they're saying back then it was an anti-competitive move. So how did they know when an application basically had no users, had no revenue, was going to be a behemoth of an application and be an anti-competitive move? It's this stuff that is laughable. So I'm not going to sit here and just dog on the government, but I did want to bring up these things because I don't personally see this going anywhere, but I could be wrong. Does this go back? Let's see. It doesn't even say it's been that long. It does not even give us the data back to 2012. So, interesting, very interesting to say the least. Again, don't know what they're doing in these claims, and WhatsApp is similar, right? I'm not going to pull up that because it's going to take too long, but trust me, WhatsApp, very, very similar. Probably had more users. I doubt it had more revenue because they're still, as I mentioned, still trying. They're still struggling with finding ways to monetize, to bring in more revenue off of WhatsApp, right? But very head-scratching lawsuit that is going on over there in Northern California federal court. But just crazy. And that's how many tech startups happen and fail, especially when they're not making any money. It's a big risk, right? It's a very, very big risk when you have an angel investor invest in a tech idea or a company to purchase a smaller company. It's a gamble. It's a big gamble. Yes, these bigger ones today, Apple, Google, Meta, yes, they have billions upon billions of dollars, so they can, I'm sure they don't want to, they can afford a hit or miss situation. They don't absolutely have to hit on every single acquisition they make. I know they want to, and they do extensive research on whatever that they are acquiring, but it is a gamble at the end of the day. It's a gamble. So they can say, well, we didn't know it was going to be this big, it was basically non-existent from the data. So how is it anti-competitive? How did we know that it was going to blow up and be this big? How was it an anti-competitive move? Anti-competitive acquisition 12 years ago. Please, somebody tell me. And then there will be silence in the courtroom because nobody has an answer, honestly. So I'll keep y'all updated. I personally keep my eyes on these things. I know some of the viewers, I don't want to spend too much time on it because it can be boring, but I just wanted to bring up some stuff that you might not see in the media that's going on behind the scenes that could have big implications directly on you and your family, your friends, the people you converse with every day, your coworkers. Because let's just say, just by some stroke of luck, some miracle, and the government forces Meta to sell Instagram or WhatsApp, right? That would affect you. I'm sure the majority of my viewers probably have an active account on Instagram and or WhatsApp. I have WhatsApp and I don't ever use it. But it would directly affect you because they would sell it another entity, or they would break it up into a few different smaller companies, and they would rebrand it, they would rename it, and sure, seemingly there would be changes on the application, there would be a new logo, there would be a new name, maybe they keep the same name, but a lot of stuff starts to change once the parent company loses or is forced to sell that entity, right? A lot would change, and us, the end user, would directly be able to tell that was the case, right? So it does have big implications for everybody, right? But it just doesn't get that much press or that much time in the press, I guess. Let me see our next story. Let me grab some water. Hang on. Okay, sorry, my quote unquote allergies are are acting up today, making fun of a viewer that commented in one of my videos yesterday or 2 days ago that said, "Sure, right, you have quote unquote allergies," meaning due to my sniffling, but it is. You can check the oak pollen count for South Texas. It's astronomically high, and that's why my voice seems a little raspy and my nose is a little stopped up, but there's nothing, we can push through that. So I briefly got into this week the data breach from AT&T. I know some viewers could potentially be affected by this. I personally can be affected by this. I don't have it currently. I don't have AT&T. I had AT&T, I want to say, I think it was around 2014, right around our last story, 12, 14. So it's been a while. However, a lot of this data breach, what was the number? I think we can look it up. It was like some 60% or 70%. And this was a ginormous data leak with names, full names, first, last name, middle name, phone number, address, social security number, emails. All that was leaked and is now on the dark web. I'm assuming for sale. I'm assuming that's what happens to it. But I think it affected 94 million. Think of that number. 94 million users, people. Now there's 330 million people in the US. So essentially a third, give or take, of the people in the country data leaked. Again, this is a very bad one. Social security number was leaked. It was confirmed. Now 60 to 70% of those 94 million users whose information got leaked or stolen was from past users or previous carrier customers, right? So not a ton. Well, you still leave over. You still have left like 30-something million people of current users whose information's out there. But if you've had AT&T if you've had AT&T in the past, if you've had Cricket at any point, if you've had who else does AT&T have? I think H2O, a smaller company, MVNO. So like AT&T will be the parent company, and then it's kind of like with Meta, with Instagram and WhatsApp. So AT&T would be the parent company, and then they own and operate smaller wireless service providers, such as Cricket Wireless and or H2O is underneath them. Now, this data breach does include customers that were with Cricket and that are with whoever else AT&T owns. So if you are one of those people, if you've had AT&T in the past or currently, if you've had Cricket in the past or currently, you need to be on the lookout. You need to be very vigilant of, your personal information, what's going on. Is your name online where it's not supposed to be? Is some information online of yours that's not supposed to be? That's the, a big concern, right? So, and unfortunately, there's not much you can do. You cannot sue AT&T for this. Now, this is going back to the federal government. I didn't want to make this a bash on the feds show, but they signed a when you sign a a contract, like for a service, in that fine print, it specifically states that you absolutely cannot turn around and sue them for either if you get SIM swapped or if your data gets leaked and or breached. You cannot sue them. Now, a lot of people don't realize it. I didn't realize this until recently. You can't sue them. It's in the fine print. I didn't believe it. I looked it up and it's there. You know, like when you get a new phone and they say, well, you have to pay it off for 24 months. Yeah, whatever. And then they have you sign here, just sign right here, right? Like on that iPad or something. And you just scroll to the bottom, or they already scroll it for you and just say, yeah, just sign here. Well, if you would scroll up and read, it's in the print. And now I believe the government needs to do something about this because it's just simply not fair, and it's not in the best interests of your citizens. It's just not. They cannot be held liable, and it's their problem, right? It's a quote unquote bad actor that leaks this information. It's an employee that gets hired on there with the intent not of making money and having a career at AT&T. They get hired on as a good guy when you see him in person, but a bad guy, shady guy behind the scenes, where the only reason why he gets a job or applies at AT&T is to get access to their computer system and their files to leak information, because they can sell that on the dark web. Or these hackers and scammers will bribe store managers. Hey, they'll give them a thumb drive. I need you to download all your customer info here on this thumb drive for me. They get paid a lot. There's in town 2 stories in the last year that I saw. One store manager, I think, was paid $83,000 in cash money for a bunch of customer info. Another one was paid in Bitcoin, I think $113,000. So this happens, and it's while they are on the clock, right, with AT&T. Whether it's an employee or it's not an employee, I believe they should be held liable. But is something going to change? I have no idea. So that made big news this week. Now, another. So let's see. Over 70. Oh, this one's saying 70 million. Okay, so look. Over 70 million AT&T customers. This was on Monday. Bad April Fool's joke. Well, it was no joke. Over 70 million current or past AT&T customers had their data leaked on Monday. The company also reported in a blog post that over 7.6 million current customers and 65 million former customers. So my numbers were off a little bit, but there are the numbers right there in front of you that I just read off. Those are huge numbers. And again, that includes a ton of people. So only 7.6 million current users. Now remember, this includes AT&T, Cricket, H2O, but 65 million past former customers, right? It's huge. So Pixel devices got updated this week. I know all across the board. Pixel phones, Pixel tablets, Pixel watches. Big updates this month to the April security patch. If you currently have a Pixel, now it's only on the, I think it goes back to the 5A. So if you have a Pixel 5A or newer, meaning up to the 8 Pro or the Pixel tablet, you have a security update. And I strongly suggest, if you have not been notified through your phone, or if you have not checked, please go ahead and check if you have a Pixel device. It's very easy. All you do is just simply go to your settings app, and then there's a little search icon in the top right of your settings app, and just simply search for update, and it'll pop right up there. So please check that if you do. Not so much, not a lot of not a lot of new features, right? Nothing new, cool to play with, but the very, very important security update to keep you safe and secure, at least while you're on your Pixel. Now, who you get the service through, maybe another story, but at least your data coming to and from your Pixel should be secure, right? Now, Spotify, they're going to raise prices. I know this is a unfortunate trend all across, not only streaming, not only in the streaming world, but in the tech world, but in the food and beverage world, right? In the hospitality world, price increases. You know what's really annoying is when you pay for Hulu or you pay for Amazon Prime, you're paying for a service, a paid premium service, right? And we're not talking about the free service. It's really annoying when you pay for a premium service and then they go to commercial break. It's like, what's going on here? Like, why am I seeing commercials and we're shelling out $20 a month, right? Like, what is this all about? It looks like Spotify is the next one. Now, those are two examples I know for sure, right? I've seen it with my own two eyes just recently. Hulu, pay for premium service, they still push ads to you. Amazon Prime, paid service, still push ads to you. And unfortunately, it looks like Spotify is going to be the next one that's going to join them, unfortunately. Now, it looks like I say only, but look, they're going to increase their premium plan by $2 a month, right? So, not a wallet buster, but here's the deal. When they do this, what if they do this again next year? Right? What if they do it again the year after that? What if they make it a yearly price increase? I know Netflix has been struggling with doing this back and forth. So again, $2 doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but when you add it up over a year, what about if you increase it $2 every year for the next 5 or 6 years? Yeah, then that hits you in a couple years, and you're like, what? You look at your statement, or you're paying your monthly subscription fee, and then you go back to your payment history. You're like, wait, hold up. Tell me 2 years ago I was only paying $10 a month, and now I'm paying $20. Like, you see where that's going? So it is what it is. Speaking of Spotify, shameless plug, we are on Spotify. Our podcast, what I'm recording right now, you can take it with us anywhere you go, all across the world. Now, not only can you find us on YouTube, but if you want the audio form, so after this is done, I'll simply download the file, what we're watching right now, and I'll simply upload that downloaded file to Spotify, and then also Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're on every platform. Wherever you find and or listen to podcasts, simply search eSIM Studios and we'll be right there. So I upload every single one. Now, Spotify is cool because you can watch the video too, kind of like this is. But all the other ones is just audio. So let's see. S23 users, they recently got an update for OneUI 6.1, right? OneUI 6.1, if you're not familiar, was released with the brand new S24 series. And like yearly tradition, Samsung starts pushing out the latest and greatest software to their older devices. After their flagship devices are out for a few months, then they'll start, because they want to put their latest and greatest on the best that they have to offer. And of course, they want people to buy this over the S23. Let's be real. But, they want people to buy this over people keeping their S23. I think that's the way to put it. So this was a highly anticipated software update for the previous flagship owners of the previous model, I should say. And it brought a number of cool features, right? They pump up all this AI stuff, but is it really AI? Not really. But it's cool nonetheless. Apparently, S23 owners have been having a bunch of trouble with their devices, with fingerprint sensors not working, with the screen timeout not working. I've heard of a volume issue, glitches, bugs in the camera application, all sorts of stuff, and that sucks. Let's see in detail. Fingerprint, there we go. So let's see, many-faced charging issues. I did not bring that up. Fingerprint sensor, touchscreen, biometric sensors. Let's see, what else? Fingerprint sensor randomly does not register my input. Huh. Well, hopefully, look, Samsung, trust me, they're going to fix this. I have faith in them that they will fix this. Look, when this was released, the S24, especially the Ultra, remember the quote-unquote washed screen? I don't know what you call it. Not debacle, but washed screen fiasco. Well, Samsung listened to us, and what do you know? Next month, they put out an update and squashed the online chatter about that. So Samsung knows what's going on. Their Samsung employees read Reddit just like everybody else, right? They just probably don't comment. But they'll fix it. They will fix it. If you do have an S23, hang in there. I know it's a pain in the ass to have, your fingerprint sensor not working, or your device does not fast charge. It just trickle charges. Whatever the issue is, hang in there. Samsung doesn't pay me or anything, but from their history, looking back at what they've done in the past, they fixed issues, whatever comes up, right? So they'll be on top of this. I guarantee you. Their developers are looking into all these bug reports, are looking into the code, trying to figure out, working overtime how to fix this. So just hang in there. I believe you got the April update just a few days ago. Actually, you know what? Maybe you haven't. It might be late. No, it might not. But if it's late this month, I'm talking specifically for S23 owners and users. If your update is late this month, that's exactly what Samsung is doing. They're not putting out the update because they're trying to feverishly rush and figure out how to fix all these problems and then push out the April update. Because that's what they did with this update on this phone. The display issue that they fixed. The update was a week or two late, but that was for a reason. They were working behind the scenes on trying to get these bugs squashed so you could have it on this current update and not have to wait another few weeks to include it on the next month's update. You see what I'm saying? Let's see here. I don't think we got the update. No, I'm still on March. So yeah, it's not out yet, but it will be soon. So it's still on March. So it's April. Pixel's got their update. I'm sure Samsung's working on some stuff behind the scenes. Typically, Samsung, the last few years have absolutely just blown me away with their update, their focus on software updates. As you know, or you may not know, Google supplies the code, the base code for each month's, not only Android, but the security patches. So Google will release it to the manufacturers, here's the code for the update. And then the manufacturers will go implement their OneUI into that code, or T-Mobile will input, the T-Mobile developers will input bloatware or whatever they do into that code, and then T-Mobile will issue the updates for T-Mobile phones. A lot of times, Samsung will beat Google in updates, meaning there's been many months out of the last 12 months, I think there's probably been 3 or 4 months where Samsung will actually put out their update faster than Google puts out their current update. So pretty interesting. Now, Google does issue those updates a month in advance. So technically, Samsung has had this quote unquote April update for a month. So they got this April update at the beginning of March, if that makes sense. Because again, they have to get it first and then implement their OneUI and then push it out, right? Now, they can't just magically, take their little Harry Potter magic wand and decompile the code and then recompile it and then issue it. They have physical human beings working on this, so it does take a couple weeks, right, to get everything sorted out. And testing, they do test it, right, and then they push it out. So that's why they need these a month in advance, just to give them some leeway, so it'll be ready on the first of the month when it's supposed to be out. But that'll do it. That'll do it for the weekly wrap up for our stories. I do appreciate you spending some time with us. We didn't have a ton of people. I see we got 130 people watching, but we only have a few in the chat. I was going to do a giveaway today. I am going to push that back to tomorrow until we have some more people in the chat, just to make it a little more fair, right? But have no worries. We will be back tomorrow, and I do have another Google Nest router, Wi-Fi router, that we're going to give away. So join me tomorrow. We live stream every single day right around this time, 45 minutes, an hour, and talk technology. So I do appreciate the time. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of, I don't say good rest of the weekend. Hope you have a good Saturday afternoon, right? Enjoy your Saturday. Be safe. Have fun. Be safe. And we will see you right here, same time, same place tomorrow. Peace out. Oh, if you got any questions, anything in regards to updates, in regards to whatever, hit me up in the comments. I check them every day, at least I try to. And my email is in the description box below as well if you need to holler at me. Peace out.